Someone said to me once a quote. I was only young, and it's always stuck in my head. And the quote was, "A problem is an opportunity in disguise."
Welcome to the third episode of the John Norman Leadership Podcast. Thanks for joining us today, and for all your shares, your likes, your comments. Really do appreciate it. We are so excited to have a really special guest with us today, and as many of you know, I'm the chaplain of Norwich City Football Club, and pleased to welcome Sporting Director of Norwich City, Stuart Webber, to the podcast. Welcome, Stuart.
Thanks, John. Good to see you.
How are you?
All's good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, all good. And really appreciate you taking some time out. I know it's a busy time trying to navigate this topsy-turvy season as it is. But how are you personally finding what we're all facing? How are you doing personally?
Yeah, okay. I think when it sort of first happened, I think you have a decision to make as a person. Forget about work for a second and stuff like that. I think you're set with a dilemma here, and I think, in my opinion, you go one or two ways. You either see it as an opportunity, or you see it as a problem. And I saw it as an opportunity. And for someone who has a pretty busy life, where I very rarely get to have dinner at home with my family, never have breakfast at home with the family, certainly lunch. So I sort of really at the beginning got my mind into a place of, right, I'm going to maximize this time. I'm going to get to know my son even more, spend more time with him. But then also use it as an opportunity to get fit and healthy. And, I've done a lot of running and eating really well and sleeping well and sort of using it as a chance to sort of, although it's difficult and there's lots of challenges going on with work, but on a personal level to almost detox a little bit and, do some reading and just sort of almost use it it sounds ridiculous, as a little bit of a sort of sabbatical and a little bit of a break, while still having a lot of work going on. But it's different because it's not, like I say, traveling around the world and on a different plane every other day, or in an office where endless meetings and people demanding your time all the time. It's different. So still working hard, but like I say, having that time to do other things. And so I've from that point of view enjoyed it and found it extremely beneficial.
What's been your challenges? What challenges have you found, with working remotely? I can't imagine you've had too many weekends off in your career from not watching football. You've probably had 8 or 9 straight in a row. So how have you found that?
Strange, definitely. And you need to adapt to it. Again, quite enjoyed it. Quite enjoyed, to be honest, weekends where you have a Friday feeling for the first time in my life, where you're not waking up on a Saturday morning anxious about the game, or on the Sunday morning in a mood about what happened on the Saturday. So it's been nice from that point of view. But at the same time, it's also been tough as well, because when all is sport and obviously in particular football, not having that does definitely leave a void in your life. And then some people maybe find that a little bit pathetic. But I think when it's such a huge part of your life, when it's not there anymore, that's been difficult. But yeah, and I mean, obviously it's been tough, not seeing family and our son, it was his 4th birthday the other day, and obviously he can't see anyone. He can't see his grandparents and
it's tough.
His friends and family, and both myself and my wife had quite a long Premier League meeting on the same day, so he's having to sit in the other room and entertain himself, and it's tough.
Yeah, and you just touched on that. There's no doubt about it. Norwich City have made a huge impact off the field in this season, with helping so many schools and individuals who are in a really tough position. So Stuart and Zoe and Dealer and Michael, a huge well done on that. And that your partnership with Soul Foundation has been really, really incredible. So thanks for that. And how important do you think it is for a football club to be part of those sort of initiatives, Stuart?
I think there's no point having a football club if you're not part of them initiatives. I think a football club, in my opinion, is the community. It's what everyone should feel a connection with, whether you're a football fan or not. You've got a massive stadium sat in the middle of the city. You've got everyone walking around in our case, yellow and green bits of clothing on certain days. And I think it's we have a huge responsibility as a club to represent our community, not just the football club. And we are extremely sort of privileged, all of us, staff, players, everyone. And I believe it's a duty to give back. I think it's a duty to inspire. I think it's a duty for us to educate. Like when we go and help the homeless people, it's great what we're doing, but every time I drive home thinking, we've got to stop it getting to that.
Yeah,
that's our responsibility. Not help them when they get there, of course. I'm not saying we don't, but it's like we've got to stop. That's got to become less and less. It's got to become, in my opinion, a shock. In Great Britain, let's be honest, an incredible country, it should be an unbelievable shock when you see a homeless person. Not normal. At the minute, I feel like you walk through any city in the UK, it's actually normal. And I always think to myself, we have accepted that as a normal.
So true.
And that is not right, in my opinion, and I think definitely learned that through this experience, because you have time to reflect and time to talk, and we've had a conversation on it before about actually we've got to do more on how do we stop it getting there.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And there's going to be business leaders of organizations, charities, football clubs, people who are listening to this podcast. And what would you say to those maybe small business owners, people in the city saying, hey, we want to do something. We can't do everything. We want to do something just to get involved and make a difference.
Well, I think first of all, we have to create a platform for people to come forward, because I'll be honest with you, John, until I met you and the Soul Church, I didn't know how to help.
Right.
Other than, if someone stops you in the street, will you fill in a form and donate, I don't know, £5 a month or something? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or you watch something on telly, an advert. But in terms of physically, I'd walk through a city centre in Huddersfield or whatever, and you'd see homeless people, and I'd think, love to be able to help them. But I genuinely where do you almost start? And I think it's about creating more noise around, no, if you want to help, this is how you can help. Because I think it's within everyone's nature. They want to give back. They want to help, whether how small or how big. And everyone varies from how much time they have, how much money they have, how much other commitments, what their beliefs are, etc., etc. But I think pretty much 99% of the world wants to help each other and make the world a better place for our children and their children, and etc., etc. I've not met anyone yet who says, well, I don't care, actually, I want to make the world worse.
That's right.
So I think it's trying to create more platforms for these people to get involved, and bring a diversity of ideas round the table. I think that's really important. I think it's getting some of these people round the table and saying, what do we think?
Yeah, it's brilliant. No, some great thoughts there. Let's just change direction a little bit, Stu, and talk about your staff and team and players and coach. Got hundreds of staff and players, and there's expectations right now. How are you managing people's expectation? There's a lot of employers going to be listening to this going, man, I've got to try and manage people's expectations at this time. How are you personally managing expectations? None of us quite know. It's the 20th of May. We're not sure if there's football happening, not happening. How are you trying to manage people's expectations right now?
We're trying to block out the noise for people, and we're trying to deliver to the people facts. Yes, we have to be honest with people. We can't almost pretend that everything's going to be okay, and it might not be. So, but what we are trying to do is, unfortunately, in our industry, it's played out every day in the media. How many people have got tested for positive? Are people refusing to train? Are they training? When are you starting back? Are you refusing to play? It's just a media every day. It's constant. And unfortunately, our players and staff read that because they can't avoid it. Because even if they don't read it, one of their family members sends it to them, or one of their mates sends it to them. So what we did right at the beginning of this was sit with the senior players, all the staff, and go, right, listen. Only listen to anything that we tell you. When you need to know, you need to know. So don't listen to the expert opinion of a so-called journalist on Sky or so-and-so, so-and-so. We will tell you what you need to know when you need to do it. When we start back, we will not put you in any environment that we wouldn't be willing to go through ourselves. So when we're doing our coronavirus testing, I was the first person to be tested, because it's like, no, I'm not going to ask any of you 40 players and staff to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So I'll go first and try it. Not a particularly nice experience, but it's a bit like, I think too many people are like, just get them lot back, get them tested, they should do it, and then don't do it themselves. They're sat at home in a comfy house, social, So I think it's about leading through it, trying to be as reassuring as possible, but giving them the honesty as well of, we've been very honest with our staff and players is, listen, there's a hurricane coming our way. We want to try and avoid it. We want to maybe, worst case, maybe we just get clipped by the side of it, but also we could end up in the middle of it. And we can't lie about that. However, these are all the things that we're putting in place to try and make sure that we do avoid it. But it's there, and it's big, and it's ugly, and it's horrible, and it's coming straight for us. And I think it's that trying to be as honest and reassuring as possible, which is tough. But I think it comes down again to communication. I think communication is the most important thing in the world ever, whether it's in your home life, whether it's at work. It's about talking to people, letting people know, being transparent, being open, not looking like you've got anything to hide. I think that's really important. Don't give people at times like this nasty surprises. Front things up. And it's tough, but it has been difficult because, there's lots of questions which we still can't answer, because this is something that, let's be honest, the best scientists in the world are struggling to get their head around. So, people like myself have got no chance, but people are still sometimes all looking at you with questions, expecting you to have the answers. And it's like, well, to be honest, I don't know what will happen if the player gets it. I don't know. It's tough, but it's trying to be as reassuring and as honest as possible.
Yeah, and I think, Stuart, in one of my previous podcasts, I talked about, I was talking about upcoming guests, got Stuart coming on. One of the things you do is you lead with real raw honesty at times. But I think there's a real, I think there's a great transparency, and there's people lean into that type of leadership because you know where you stand with Stuart Webber. And the other thing you lead with is optimism. And you're a very optimistic leader. Talk a little bit like that. You talked about honesty, but talk about optimism as well. How important that is when leading a team and leading staff.
Someone said to me once a quote. I was only young, 18 probably, and it's always stuck in my head. And the quote was, "A problem is an opportunity in disguise." And that one thing has constantly changed my outlook on everything.
So good.
Because when you actually think about it, it is. So it's a bit like a tree falling in the road is, okay, that's a bit of a problem, but it's also an opportunity, because you might go, I found a way which is actually quicker to work, because that tree, the way I've gone every day for 5 years, that tree falling down has sent me another way, which is actually quicker, better phone signal, so I can make more calls, more scenic, whatever it might be. I went past a lovely little shop where you can get fresh bread. Never knew it existed until that tree fell. And I think I think you have to do that, because I think if you're not careful in the world that we live today, without sounding like an old man, our phones can go off at any second with normally the headline's bad news, right? If your little BBC or Sky app or whatever shots through, it's normally a bad headline. Very rarely is it good news, folks. It's normally, these thousands of people have died, or da-da-da-da-da. So we're actually got constant negativity surrounding us if we're not careful. And I think that eats people alive. And I think you find out in times of crisis, the companies and organizations which are led by optimism or are led by, maybe a little bit of fear and doom and gloom. But yeah, I mean, I'm not just an optimistic person, because I believe every day we're on this earth we're so lucky. Every morning you wake up, you think, how lucky are we? And every day is an opportunity. It's like when footballers say, I didn't get an opportunity. Okay, but every time you drive through the gate, that's an opportunity. Every time you step on the training pitch, that's an opportunity. Anything is possible. I truly believe anything is possible. But it's only possible if you believe you can do it. Like I genuinely believe I will climb Mount Everest. And people think I'm stupid.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And it's like, no, I genuinely believe that, and I'm going to work so hard to do it, because it's like, I want to see what it feels like to stand on top of the world. I genuinely do. And people will go, yeah, but it's 25% chance of dying. And I'll go, yeah, but it's 75% chance of living. Imagine being able to tell the story of that. 75, I'll take my odds of 75%, because I think they're really good odds. I think that's brilliant. 75%, happy days. So I just think it's important. I think you can have such a much more fulfilled life and happy life, and make people around you happier if you have an optimistic outlook. So you wake up, it's raining, and you've got your child for the day. You can look at it and go, it's raining. I don't want to go out. Or you can go, I'll tell you what, brilliant. Let's get wrapped up and let's go and have some fun, jump in some puddles. what's the worst? We'll get wet.
No, I like it, and I think very similarly. Now, just before we bring this to a close, Stuart, many of your staff have been furloughed. Many of our staff are furloughed. In fact, there's hundreds of thousands of staff all over the world have been furloughed. We get listeners from all over the globe. What would you say to people who are maybe at home at the moment, got more time on their hands? Really encouraging to be proactive, making the most of this. You've talked about some of your rhythms, some of the daily things you do, but really encourage people maybe to start a new hobby, start thinking different, wider, but not to waste this COVID season.
I think first of all, you have to bring structure in your life. So in my opinion, it's not good to be staying up till 3 a.m, waking up at midday, skipping breakfast. I think you've got to still have structure, get up as you would normally, have your breakfast, have that time. In my opinion, it's wrong if you decide to sort of just mope around, because then you'll get into that state of just mopiness.
Yeah.
And then I think set some goals. Set yourself some goals. So I set myself some goals of, right, I want to, by the end of this time, be able to run a 10K in under 45 minutes. So I'm going to train to that, and I'm going to work so hard to do it. And I've done it now, and now I'm like, okay, I need to realign that.
Well done.
Do it at 43 or whatever. But and I think it's that, take the time to learn something new, whether it's a language, because people might go, I don't want to get fit, I don't want to lose weight. Fine, that's not for him. But find that thing where, because I'm pretty sure everyone in life has that. If I had more time, I would X. Because let's be honest,
it's good.
We're all quick enough to go, I haven't got enough time to clean the garage, clean the shed, walk more, etc. This time, them excuses have gone. So just have that focus, and then at the end of it, look back and go, I actually achieved something there. So we're doing it with our son. We're teaching him to ride a bike, because for his birthday, we were always going to get him a bike. And we're going, well, as soon as this came, we got the bike early, because we thought, well, let's maximize the time. So it's like, during this period, we'll never have in our lives, another period where the three of us are here as a family, where we've actually got time to genuinely teach him to ride a bike. And not where your phone's in one hand and you're trying to, whatever. It's like where you can actually go, I can now spend half an hour with you because I've actually got time to ring people back after. And I think that's important for people to maximize it and not look back and go, I sat at home for 12 weeks and didn't actually do anything. I think that's criminal. I just watch everything there is on Netflix, because there's still time to do that. There's still time to binge on box at night and whatever. Do things which are a little bit, probably shouldn't be doing that. Like, there's 24 hours in the day and you can't really go anywhere. So there's still plenty of time to, watch them 10 films you've been putting off for 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Look, thank you so much for your wisdom, experience, incredible insights today. One last question, Stu. As a leader, how do you want to look back on this season? I'm not talking about football season as much. I'm talking more about this crisis season we're in. How do you want to be, what do you want this to be known for in the Webber household?
I think the most important thing is I want us to look back and go, you know what, throughout that, we kept calm and we tried to do the right thing.
Yeah, brilliant.
100% we'll do the wrong thing in times, absolutely. But when we reflect in 2-3 years down the road, go, but you know what, the intention was really right. In hindsight, that wasn't necessarily the correct decision, but the intention was right. And we stayed calm for it and we didn't get caught up in the hysteria. And I think that's, in my opinion, the most important thing for us.
Stuart Webber, Sporting Director of Norwich City, thank you so much for your time today. Hope you enjoyed it, all of our listeners around the globe. And all the best for the remainder of the season. If the season happens, if it doesn't happen, all the best for next season.
Thank you.
How good was that? Thank you, Stuart Webber, for your insight and your wisdom. And remember, you are your only limit. So keep lifting the level of your leadership. And as you do, others will rise around you. Thanks for joining us today. I'd value your commitment by liking it, sharing it, subscribing to it, commenting on it, and sharing it with your teams. Remember, you are your only limit. And this podcast is to lift the level of your leadership. And as you rise, others will rise around you.